With 71% of its surface covered in water, our beautiful Earth is known as the water planet. And so therefore, it's not surprising that our health is tremendously impacted by the purity, structure, and amount of water that we drink. This makes sense as our bodies are mostly comprised of water. We're 61% water by weight, but 99% water by number of molecules. Did you guys know that? Isn't that incredible? And you might say, well, how is that possible? How is that possible? Because most of our other molecules, like our amino acids, our fatty acids, our DNA, our carbohydrates, they're very large. And water molecules are so tiny. They basically fill all the available space within these other molecules and around these other molecules. So, we've got water molecules arranging in spiraling arrays around our spiraling DNA. They're ensheathing our proteins in sheaths of structured water. We've got water, in our blood is mostly water, our lymphatic fluid is mostly water, our cerebrospinal fluid is mostly water. And our extracellular matrix, which is what every cell in the body anchors down into, is mostly, and really what connects almost every cell with every other cell, besides those that are swimming in our bloodstream, is mostly comprised of water, like a liquid crystalline carpet. And so we've got water outside of our cells, and then our inside of our cells, like all available space, is full of water. And then we actually, within our cells, and even within the intracellular organelles, the water's in there too. And then we have this scaffolding structure within the cells called microtubules. And we've learned now that these little tubes will traverse one cell and enter into the neighboring cell. And within these microtubules, they are exclusively filled with water. And within there, water acts like a superconductor of energy and information and is partially responsible for body-wide coordination. So, when we're replete with water, we are like a liquid crystal. And so you know how I was so excited about the biofield? A luminous biofield really is an amplifying conduit of energy and information from the field. Well, it is a conduit between the field and our biology via water. It's absolutely critical. And so water is such an important molecule for many reasons, but one, it's basically everywhere. And two, it can exist in a structured state. And when it's structured, it has some very important properties. And three, water can store and transmit information. Water has memory. So we'll talk about structure. So structure, water will line up in sheets of a honeycomb matrix and against interfaces, like the inside of our cell membrane or the inside of our blood vessels, outside of our intracellular organelles. And sometimes you'll have layers of this honeycomb for millions of layers. And when water is in this structure, it's not actually H2O anymore. It's H3O2, because the oxygen starts sharing its hydrogen atoms with one another. And so the extra hydrogens are pumped outside of this structured zone, and that sets up a charge separation. So you've got a negatively charged structure zone, a zone of positive charge right outside of that, and that creates a battery. And we're learning that battery supplies the energy for a lot of the physiological reactions happening in the body. Like, for example, the unfurling of a protein so that it can become active and do work, or actually the unfurling of our DNA so particular genes can be expressed. And up until very recently, science could not explain what was responsible for shoving the red blood cells through the microcapillary beds of the body. Like if the heart cannot possibly generate enough pressure to do that. So, red blood cells are 7 microns in diameter. Capillaries are 5 microns in diameter. So the red blood cells literally have to deform themselves, like bend, to be shoved in there. And that's by design, because you want the red blood cell membrane to have a lot of contact with the capillary wall so it can exchange the oxygen, pull the carbon dioxide out. And yet, if the heart were responsible for creating the pressure to do that, it would have to generate 100 times more pressure than it actually does. So it's looking like the structured water on the inside of the blood vessels is supplying the energy to propel the red cells. Another really beautiful thing about water is that water has memory. And there's a lot of experiments that have demonstrated that, but one scientist that did a phenomenal job demonstrating this is Luc Montagnier, the Nobel Prize laureate. And what he was able to show is that he could take DNA from a patient and put it in a vial of water, shake that up, take a little bit of that water, put it in another vial of sterile water, and dilute it down, 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 until there were no molecules of DNA left in the water sample. And then he was able to read the vibratory signature of the DNA from the water itself and capture that with a computer. And then he was able to send that now digitized information signature from his lab in France to another lab in Italy, and their scientists played that information signature to vials of water. And those vials of water that had listened to that information could reconstruct DNA from individual nucleotides and polymerase enzyme, whereas water that had not listened could not. And it's almost like you get this really complicated piece of furniture delivered to your house. You need the instructions to assemble it, right? And so in that experiment then, they took the DNA and they sent it to an independent lab that analyzed it with PCR, and the DNA was 99% similar to the DNA from his original lab in France. Isn't that mind-blowing? So despite that being impeccably done, took the scientific community by storm and created a lot of controversy, but Jacques is definitely no slouch. He's a Nobel Prize laureate. So anyway, so how does this work? How does this happen? The water molecules can circle up where the oxygens share their hydrogens with neighboring oxygens, and almost like children holding hands, it's been said. And that creates something called a coherent domain inside. That's like a perfect pocket for holding data. And water will hold data for a period of time. And, this really explains a lot of things. It explains how homeopathy works. It explains the thousands of anecdotes and hundreds of documented cases of people who've had miraculous healings after drinking water coming out of the ground in certain healing wells around the world, like Lourdes, France. Has important health implications for treating human disease. And also, huge ramifications, because if water can store information signatures, you don't want to be drinking water that has the information signature of pesticides and heavy metals and pharmaceuticals and herbicides and whatnot. And it's equally vital that you drink water that has, ideally, that's been imbued with the mineral frequencies of the earth and the geomagnetic frequencies of the earth. That's our birthright. So, running low on time. Okay. What are the benefits of drinking the right amount of water? Well, first off, what is the right amount of water? Do you guys know? Yeah. Half your body weight in ounces. So if you're 150 pounds, you want to drink 75 ounces a day. And sometimes just doing that will change your health. For example, I have had a patient come in with bilateral osteoarthritis of the knees, lumbar degenerative disc disease, foggy-headed, low energy, constipated, bowel movement every other day, and I drew his blood, and I was like, okay, well, just between now and the time we get back together to go over your lab work, just set the goal of drinking half your body weight in ounces every day. And then he came back, he's like, wow, I can walk up the stairs to your clinic, my knees don't hurt, my back doesn't hurt, I'm clear-headed, I'm energetic. This happens all the time. And why is that? Because your joint structures are mostly comprised of water. They've got hyaluronic acid, which has multiple binding sites for water. And that's what creates that pillowy buoyancy. Same with your intervertebral discs. Why do people lose height as they age? Because they dehydrate, literally. So anyway, when the tissue is dehydrated, it frays and wears and bulges and all of that. And of course, we know it helps you eliminate your bowels better and eliminate toxins out of your body better. Let's just say that when you are replete with water, your body is a liquid crystal. Just remember that. It is so critical. And one fundamental factor that really contributes to aging is the amount of water that our cells can hold. And we talked about cell membrane potential, cell membrane composition, mitochondrial function, and those are all really important for helping us retain water within the cell. But that trifecta of factors only works if you drink enough water. So you've got to drink it. So everything we need has been given to us by nature. Everything that actually helps us is in harmony with nature. 1 minute. Got it? Okay. Yeah, so everything we need has been given to us by nature, and everything that helps us is in harmony with nature. We must become the guardians of nature. It's really up to each and every one of us to advocate for nature and the health of the planet, because in so doing that, we are advocating for all forms of life and for ourselves as well. And really acknowledging the infinite energy and information in this field, and our integral part of it is the first step on our healing journey.